and that required you to be there because, sadly, I can't play the music and have you talk to me.
Right.
Without that happening, so I'm just gonna get everything.
Be drilling.
Oh well.
There may be drilling.
It's okay.
I do have my window open. Because
thank you, by the way, for the follow, Del Killere. Killere. I don't know how to spell it. I couldn't read it on my overlay. What? Sorry?
I'd have the stream up on mine, but like I don't want to hear my own voice.
Just mute it. Just have the stream up and mute it, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. Okay, well, we're gonna start pretty much now. I'm just gonna turn the music right down so that it's nice and quiet so that we can have this discussion. Because I want some little bits of background noise.
I have some notifications. No, I don't. They're just things.
Well, here we go. Welcome to, as I've nicknamed it for some fucking reason, Raven's Grand World Building Podcast.
Yes.
Featuring ScifiToast.
Why is my name not in the title?
Your name is not in...
Why is there a fucking ad?
Your name... I don't know why there's an ad, but I know that, your name isn't in the title because it's on the fucking screen. Who needs it in the title? It's in the... Yeah, people are gonna come here for you. Anyway. So... Apparently, when I clap, my mic goes red on OBS. Oh well.
Does it indeed?
Interesting. So, let's start this discussion. First of all, I'm just going to do a really quick introduction to what this entire podcast thing is going to be and how we're going to be running it, and then we'll get straight into the discussion.
Comic relief.
No, he's here to help discuss things, and so is the chat. We're all going to be building this fucking world. So, how this is going to work, I wanted to design a world. Just a little bit of backstory on what's going on. I wanted to design a world for my D&D campaign, which the current one that I'm running is about to come to a close pretty soon. And, I don't know, in about maybe a year or a year and a half, I'll be starting a new campaign whenever my other friend finishes his D&D campaign that he'll be running after me. So I wanted to document pretty much everything that I did towards actually designing this world. All of the, lore creation, working out what I wanted to even do. And then when it gets closer to the actual campaign, designing the encounters, designing items, making sure everything's reasonably balanced. Probably designing some homebrew stuff on stream as well. All of this will get archived onto YouTube, so I'll be setting up the YouTube channel to archive this probably after the stream. It'll be probably YouTube / a bunch of numbers. I don't actually know, because you can't put your actual name until you've had like a bunch of followers. So I'll end up linking it. I'll link it. It'll be below on the actual stream overlay.
If you just do your if you just name your channel, and then you do youtube.com/user/ the name of your channel.
Yeah, but I'm fairly sure they changed it now that any new channels have that weird, like, fucking string of numbers and letters.
My YouTube channel.
Yeah, I know. I'll link...
So I can just easily link it.
I'll link ScifiToast's YouTube channel down below as well. He's
you don't want to go there.
Yeah, you do. He does comedy-related things.
No, that's not comedy.
It is comedy.
Crap.
It's fucking comedy. Calm down. So yeah, he does comedy stuff, sketches mostly. Go and check him out. I enjoy his videos, but he's my friend, so of course I do. Exactly. So, God, I need to turn down my mic a little bit. I've just noticed it's peaking. So, what I'll be doing is that I'll have links below. I'll have links on the Reddit threads that I've posted, if any of you came from Reddit. I've got the 2 threads that I made, one on the building subreddit, and one on the actual D&D subreddit. I'll be linking the channels, both mine and ScifiToast's, on there. And let's fucking begin.
Just because you're Australian doesn't mean you need to swear all the time.
Fuck you. So, essentially, let's go through a basic understanding of what I want from this world. So...
Is it the one... Oh, are you just making a new one? It's
No,
not
no,
the one
this
we
is...
were discussing, is it?
This is the one that we've been talking about. The one that we were making this podcast for. God,
That's
you're
a good
so
point.
unprepared. So...
Well, I did, like, wake up, like, 2 hours ago.
That's true. That's very true. It's alright. It's early for you. It's late for me. It's like 8 o'clock.
Can I just say that in regards to D&D, I'm very inexperienced.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for.
Like, because I was part of a D&D group not long ago, actually. And then they were like, because the DM is American, he was like, let's do it at this time. And for me, it was like 2 a.m. I was like, no, I'm not awake at 2 a.m.
Fantastic.
So I ended up not being able to do it in the end.
Oh,
So that sucked.
that is disappointing.
So there's that. So I've never really played a proper game of D&D, but in regards to world building, I'm all about that.
And that's the entire reason why I've got you here.
Yay! Because I am also a writer,
Yeah.
or at least I try to be a writer.
If you ever publish a book, I'm fucking plugging that shit.
Yeah.
So, what we're going to start with is the basic ideas that I want from this world. The idea that I had in my head when I designed the concept, and how I want to implement that into D&D as a concept. So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to design a world that was not like an ordinary world, in the sense that an ordinary world has continents, and all those continents have cities in them and stuff like that. Obviously.
Yes.
I wanted to build a world that was actively hostile and required people to think about travel and other such things, and it allows for a lot more
in sort of alternate ways. So like travel by foot and travel by horse or something would be a bit more dangerous.
Exactly.
Like they've got to think of more creative way of traveling around, like flying or something.
So that was the first thing I wanted to do. I wanted to build a world that was slightly more hostile. The second thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to justify every class, race, and thing that was in the D&D core, like, rule books. So the DM guide, the core rules book, Unearthed Arcana
like
stuff.
40 odd books.
Well, no, that's technically it depends on the edition. Currently, 5th edition is like 10-ish books.
Doesn't the 4th edition have like 40?
Oh, 4th edition has a ton, but we're not doing 4th edition. We're doing 5th edition because that's the D&D version that I'm the most comfortable with.
What about skyhooks?
What is a skyhook? I'm gonna Google this now.
A hook from the sky, apparently. Or something, I imagine.
Another thing
You know how,
I'll
like,
another thing I'll
Spider-Man's webs used to work.
Yeah. Another thing I'll
They didn't-
hopefully
they
be
didn't
doing
attach to building with.
is taking some fucking things from the chat, hopefully.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
looking at the
god.
chat.
That is a really odd thing. I just googled
What?
skyhooks. That's fucking awesome.
Is it? I
Holy
don't know what it
shit.
is.
That's fucking weird as shit. I like it.
I'm googling it now.
You should. That's absolutely worth it. That's
a rock
I'll
graphic
I'll
guide of
bring
Skyrim.
up if I can. I don't know whether I can just drag. I think I can. Look at that. I can fucking drag images onto the stream. It popped up for like 2 seconds and now it's gone. I don't know where it went.
Oh! That looks like the thing from BioShock Infinite.
It does. That is actually what someone in chat said. I wonder whether it'll actually... Is it gonna... It's not gonna keep it! Why you do this? Whatever. Anyway, I think it's because I'm trying to drag it straight for the internet. Anyway.
Oh, it just popped up for like half a second.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's doing that for me as well on my actual stream. I think it's because, again, I'm just dragging off the internet.
Fair.
So the second concept was, what did you actually mean then? Because if that's not what you meant, then I've just found something that's super cool that wasn't what you meant at all.
Well, that's an idea for another time. Put it in the ideas box.
Yeah, I'll just. Ah. Oh, I see. That's actually an interesting idea. I have to think about that. Second thing, we're moving on. Second thing I wanted to do, which I've said already, but I'm going to repeat it just to make sure. I want to put everything that's in D&D released content, official D&D released content, into the world. So that is core rulebook stuff, DM guide, Unearthed Arcana, Volo's Guide to Monsters, etc, etc, etc. So I want to have all classes and all races be playable. That was the most important thing I wanted to do. There will also be obviously some custom homebrew classes and archetypes and stuff, but I'll get to that later. That's not something that I want to do now. Right now we're focusing on the world. But that was one of the things I wanted to... Sorry?
Yeah. Should we crack on?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, crack on.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to go through the basic list of things I want. Third thing?
It's taking too long.
Oh, fuck you. It's my stream. I can do what I want. The third thing I wanted to do, which goes along with the second thing and along with the first thing, I wanted to make this world I don't want to say steampunk, but I want to say...
Yeah, I think steampunk is usually overdone a bit.
I want it to have elements of steampunk in it. The idea of tinkerers and designing machines, very simple machines that still mix quite well with a sort of medieval style fantasy environment. That was one of the things I wanted to do.
Yeah, I get that. It's
and
sort of like...
yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to do. And the final thing I wanted to do was make this world fun. That's it.
Fun.
That's it. I wanted to make it fun. I wanted to use interesting ideas.
Realistically, if you're facing a very dangerous world with steampunk-esque technology and stuff, would it really be fun? Like if you were actually living there?
I don't know. It's fun for the players, maybe not fun for the actual world populace. Yeah, sort of, yeah. Sort of like Victorian technology and with medieval concepts in a world setting, sort of. That does actually, that works.
So when we're starting off with building a world, really, what are we focusing on first? We're looking at the structure of the geology. And how everything's put together.
Correct.
And like what sort of minerals there are, maybe.
Yeah, Melisar, that was another thing I was considering. The world will be not the world that I currently have, that I've currently built, which is a world based around the elements and other such things, is very high magic. I wanted this one to be sort of medium magic. So magic is a thing that is common, but it's not like you can find magic items everywhere, unlike my current world, where like everything is magic. But yeah, I was thinking like things run by magic, mechanical constructs, etc., that are run by perhaps arcane cores. But again, that's also part of how I've already got a lot of ideas for what I want to do for this world in my head. And it's actually sort of difficult to work out where I want to start with everything. So...
You recently came to me with an idea regarding how, like, technomancy.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. That's a little bit too technical. Like...
Yeah, but, like, it doesn't need to be integrated into the code like you're doing with my world, but you could still integrate the magic into technology in a certain way.
That's already a thing in D&D. If you look, one of the classes that came out in Unearthed Arcana is called the Artificer, and they essentially tinker and build magical items and other small, like, little tinkering technical things.
Indeed.
And then there's the race of the Warforged, which was originally from, I believe, the Eberron world, which are essentially like constructs that are fueled by arcane cores, and they're sentient and stuff like that. So they're like actual people, but they're run by magic and they're mechanical. I haven't researched too much into Warforged, but again, I just do want to try and include things like that.
Mechanical constructs run by magic does bring to mind the Dwemer constructs from the Elder Scrolls.
From Skyrim, yeah. Oh, well, I say from Skyrim because that's like the only Elder Scrolls game I've actually played, because I'm a scrub.
Wow, you filthy heathen. Play some Oblivion. Or Morrowind.
I've always wanted to.
Or don't play Morrowind because it's tedious as hell, but...
Yeah.
Like, I've heard a lot of Morrowind is very nice. I just haven't got round to seeing it because my character walks so damn slow.
If Elder Scrolls Online was actually an okay game, I probably would have played more. But
yeah, I've played a bit of Elder Scrolls Online. It's just sort of, I don't know what I was expecting really, but I felt a bit disappointed by it after a few hours of playing. Like it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be.
Yeah. So, what I want to begin with before we start on geology and things like that, I wanted to start with concepts of things like deities and gods, I think, which is something that is quite important for certain D&D classes. And the reason why is because I have a list on my computer, which I will bring up.
You have a list.
I have a lisp, obviously. I'm going to find my... Where's my list? It's somewhere in here. I have a list of gods, and the reason why I already have made this list, obviously because I've been working on this world a little bit. If I can find it. I don't know where I've put it. But the list of gods is important because it gives a baseline for certain areas that need to exist in the world. In terms of the what's the thing? Like, in terms of certain continents and areas, this is sort of important for me to be able to have gods represented as certain areas. Because one of the concepts I had for this was there was a pantheon of, I believe I made 16 gods, and I don't remember how many of them I made, but some of them are malevolent. And the reason why this world is the way that it is the malevolent gods were essentially pissed off at the humans for creating what is now called arcane magic, as essentially a amalgamation of holy magic that doesn't require any worship. That was my entire concept for arcane magic. And so the malevolent gods essentially curse the world. Thank you for the follow, Melissa, by the way. That noise scares the shit out of me every time. Either way, that is what I wanted to do. So certain areas of the world would be cursed by these gods, and that's why there are areas like, for example, the big area covered in sand, which is the desert, which is sort of why I have this picture as the background of my of the podcast, because I really like this picture and it sort of describes how I'd like this world to be when you leave the cities. So I'll quickly run through the pantheon that I built. I have 16 gods that I've made names for, at least. Well, at least I've worked out their concepts, but these can obviously be changed. I don't know how I feel about all of these at the moment. There's the god of storms, the god of mountains, the Fey god, the god of shadows, the god of tides, god of death and life. Well, they're both separate ones. I don't know why I said that as if it was one god. God of prosperity, god of strength, god of vengeance, god of knowledge.
Basically, there's a lot of gods.
Yeah, god of fate, god of desert, god of combat, god of time, and god of constellations.
It's like in a Terry Pratchett novel when there's like a god of things shaped like potatoes. Oh, and then there was a goddess of volcanoes, but then like she ended up becoming the goddess of things stuck in drawers. For some reason, I can't remember.
That's fantastic. That's actually fantastic.
Yeah, and so like if you ever get something stuck in a drawer, and you swear about it, and then she just appears and she's like, "Do you want me to get that for you?"
God, that's funny. So yeah, those are the basic gods that I have designed, and I may change some of them. But some of the malevolent gods are the god of storms, god of the desert, god of the tides, things like that. God of death.
Of course, there's a god of death. Why
Of course there is.
Death? It's sort of like one of life's great things. Except
Yeah.
it's not life because it's death.
Yeah.
I
But
mean, yeah.
That's my basic pantheon at the moment. I sort of made that entire list up myself. I didn't really... I tried not to take examples from, like, already set out gods. Storm, mountain, fae, death, light... Hang on. Let me just really bring up my list again so I can do this. So we've got storms, mountain, fae, shadows... Fae is... They're like fairies in the D&D world.
Oh.
There's the Feywild, which is another plane of existence, and that's sort of where the Fey come from, and the Fey can do certain things in the material plane. So I'll just repeat the gods again in case anyone's trying to keep track.
Please don't do that.
Fuck you. Storms, mountains, Fey god, god of shadows, god of tides, god of death, god of life, god of prosperity, god of strength, god of vengeance, god of knowledge, god of fate, god of the desert, god of combat, god of time, and god of constellations.
There's too many. I don't like it.
So that's my current pantheon, which is important because I want to design areas for them to have corrupted, I guess. So one of my first concepts I had was obviously a giant desert. A desert with a perpetual sandstorm going on.
Well, that
almost
just sounds
constantly.
like annoying.
So if we begin by discussing what continent, like sort of what areas we want. So one of them, as I said, is the desert. One of them I want is a area I designed in a little section for... hello again, Trillian, by the way. Thank you for coming and seeing my stream again. We're doing the podcast thing, as I mentioned yesterday. So, yeah, it was a concept I had for this current world that I'm in. But it's a place called the Storm Plains, or in my world, it's the Isle of Lightning. It's essentially a area of the world that has a high density of electrical storms, and the ground holds a perpetual level of charge to it.
All right.
Because
that just sounds dangerous.
It is very dangerous, and that's the point.
Is it even possible for someone to even go there? Like, could you just walk there?
Well, if you don't touch the ground, then sure. So I imagine. Remember,
I'm thinking.
Yeah, remember, I'm imagining
like...
what sort of populace live in these areas. The desert, I imagine, like, bubbles of magic that's protecting people from the outside storms. Oh, well, the sandstorm. Yeah, like some sort of shock-resistant body armor thing, maybe, for that area.
I have an idea for another area.
Go ahead.
Bear in mind, I'm ripping this straight off one of my favorite books.
Go for it. That's where all the best ideas come from.
An entire area which is just mud.
Well, I'm going to twist that a little bit, because I did have an idea. I wanted to make an area that's essentially just a dense fucking rainforest.
Do that. You could also have an area which is just mud.
Yeah,
like a big swamp. Without the water, it's just mud.
Well, I was thinking like a swampy... The reason why, because I was thinking of a swampy rainforest, because there's 3 races that are in Volo's Guide to Monsters that would fit perfectly in like a rainforest swamp area. That's the Tritons, which are essentially merfolk, mermaid people. Then we have... so people living in the trees. You also technically have elves. Elves could theoretically live there. There's also the idea of the lizard men, Lizard men living in swamps and rainforesty areas sounds good.
What
And
if
then
the
there's
swamps and
sorry,
what
go
if
on.
the swamps were like, yeah, what if the swamps were sort of like the most dangerous, sort of rancid, nasty things ever, and like you couldn't go too close to the ground because there's all like these nasty gases and stuff.
Yeah,
This is supposed to be a dangerous world, right?
yeah,
You can't just like walk around.
correct.
You've got to like be high up. You've got to construct tree houses, like
Yeah.
like guy says.
And I thought maybe that
like-
the three races that I'm talking about could have perhaps an innate, not an immunity, but a resistance to it, so they can
Yeah.
spend time in that foggy, thick area of what do you call it, like gas, I guess, without dying, but they still have to live in the trees because if you stay down there for too long, you just suffocate.
Yeah. Or something far worse happens, like your skin could start shriveling up. Or
That could work.
like-
It actually implies an implicit danger to the area. That would be interesting.
Absolutely.
So that was that idea.
But the trees themselves could feed off of the of that.
The trees themselves could be the ones creating it.
Maybe. Or who knows?
There's lots of different
I'll have
things.
to I'll have to think more about it.
Yeah, it's
Let's move on.
this entire first episode is just going to be ideas of shit I want to do, and then we will flesh it all out in later episodes. Going back, well, that's an idea. If
Yeah,
you-
it absorbs your bodily fluids and then feeds it into the trees, so they stay.
That's actually sort of clever. I like that. The third race, by the
But
way,
then
for
after a while,
everyone.
people would.
Apologies.
Yeah, carry on. Sorry,
No, you go. Right.
carry on. Oh, okay.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Go.
And again, like if people, if people realize that we shouldn't be walking around down here, otherwise we'll be, like, become basically dry people. Like they realized, let's build tree houses so we don't have to walk around and all that. Then the trees would start dying because they've got nothing to feed off of.
Yeah.
So then they would have to start sacrificing people to the fog.
Perhaps. The third
Who knows?
the third race I was going to go through, for anyone that actually understands anything about D&D related stuff, which is why I'm mentioning it. The third race I want to put in is the Wanti Pureblood, which is a bunch of snake people. So they're the
course,
three
Sneep.
races I want to be
Sneeple.
focusing on in this. Yeah, Sneeple. Focusing on in this sort of, in the rainforesty sort of area. And then I had an idea for an entire continent that's been sunk into the sea.
Pleasant.
So it is a fully fledged continent. It's just underwater. And then you can have cities that are almost Bioshock-like in that they're bubble domes
That's really pretty, actually.
underneath the sea. Which I think would
I'm
be
pretty sure
super
there's a place
awesome.
like that in Marvel Comics. I can't remember.
Because that was an idea that I thought would be good as well. And then that's also a place that the Tritons can live, because they tend to live underwater most of the time. And there's lots of different ideas. Again, I'm trying to include everything that's in D&D, so that means all the different elemental planes, which is the water, fire, earth, and air, need to exist somewhere, or at least have entrances somewhere. I had another idea because the Fey God would most likely be a malevolent god as well. There might be a Fey-touched forest, which is almost like an entrance to the Feywild, which is where illusions and shit happen everywhere. So it's not dangerous in the sense of there's any physical danger, but it can send you mad if you go into it, and you can get lost and other such things.
Sounds dangerous. Just what I
Well,
like.
Well, yes, it's going to be dangerous, but dangerous in a different way to everything else. Everything else is a very physical danger. Sandstorms will be physically, physically have danger. Rainforests filled with poisonous gas have physical danger. Mountains and plains filled with just like pure electrical charge are dangerous. And the idea I had for the civilizations that live there is they live in the sky somehow. I don't know how yet, probably magically. Which would be super, super cool.
There's one thing we haven't established about this world yet.
Yes.
Is it established as a planet, or just as a single continent?
Planet. We're going with an entire...
Yeah.
We're going with a world.
Yeah.
So that would mean...
Because lots of fantasy worlds aren't usually established as a planet themselves. They're just established as, like, maybe a few islands or something.
Yeah, no, I know. My current world that I did started off as one continent, and I had to make 3 more, sorry, because I wanted to flesh it out a little bit more. So that was one of that is something I'd like to do. I'd like to flesh out an entire world, like physically an entire planet. Not that there will be other planets. I don't believe I'm going to be making like a cosmos or anything. There might be some constellations that I design, because there is a god of constellations. So that's like an idea. Oh god, cars sound very loud out of your microphone.
Do they?
Well, they sound loud to me. I don't know whether they sound loud to the stream.
Can you hear the drilling as well?
Not as much, actually.
Yeah.
The cars are actually louder than the drilling. So,
I just had a train of thought.
Yes?
So I've been looking into a lot of the way planets are made up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, like, how this planet seems to have a lot of storms
Yes.
and that sort of thing.
Bad
So
weather.
It's suggested that the atmosphere is quite dense.
What does that mean, though? That's the thing.
Like, I don't know. It just sounds interesting.
It does sound interesting. It's just
that's where my knowledge already stops in regards to the makeup of planets.
Yeah, it's more the fact that I like where you're going. I do. I need to. I think with this world, I need to focus on stuff that'll either make a mechanical difference, or I don't know. That's interesting idea.
An interesting other thing is that if there's an abundance of oxygen in the air, that means a lot of the creatures will be bigger. Like, you'd have, like, giant worms and stuff.
Oh, I already plan on having giant worms. Don't you fucking worry about that. We're going
sandworms, don't you?
We're going high fantasy. There's going to be sandworms. There's going to be dragons. There's going to be giant griffins. There's going to be huge snakes and shit. Giant superpowered birds. Fuck yeah.
Superpowered birds, so dragons.
I had
dragons with feathers.
I already have a dragon with feathers in the current world that I have, so that's completely possible. I had another idea that I had for another area is like a molten area surrounding a volcano, perhaps.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
Something where the ground is superheated, perhaps with actual lava and or magma flowing. The final thing that I need to have in this world, which is important only because it's D&D, is the Underdark. The Underdark. The Underdark is essentially below the world, where there is a series of chasms and stuff where the drow and shit live, which are essentially the Dark Elves. You know, sunlight sensitivity and shit like that. The Underdark is also the place for things like mind flayers, etc., etc., etc. Yeah.
So how did the Underdark come to be? Is it just like a load of caves or something linked together?
It's essentially just like, imagine if the entire time, like in our world, for example, if someone dug down a good halfway to the Earth's core, maybe a quarter to the Earth's core, and found out there was massive chasms and tunnels where people had been living for all this time. Remember, I'm gonna go completely off the wall. Do you remember Doctor Who, where they find the lizard people below the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Silurians.
Like that. That's like the Underdark. sort of.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I quite like that idea. And so like they have this entire civilization, and with no knowledge of what's going on the surface, I assume.
Oh, they have knowledge. They just don't. The problem is that they retreat below the surface because people at the surface don't like them. It's an entire racism concept. The Drow are essentially... Well, the Drow... In normal D&D, the Drow are considered, you know, like, inferior to normal elves, etc., etc., etc. So they live in the Underdark because that's a safe place that they've established. I do like that idea, though, that has just been thrown in chat. An idea of a big arena that perhaps... Interesting. Yeah, everyone needs good old-fashioned racism. It's a known thing. It happens. There are a lot of people that are racist in our world.
And like even my world is sort of racist.
Yeah, but your world has magic and then people that are racist towards magic.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is magicist.
And it's also set in an altered version of our world. So.
Yeah. I kind of like that idea though of maybe an arena, but I don't think the concept of the arena should be, because I'm trying to think of continents right now that would perhaps not continent like I'm thinking of continents, but I'm also thinking of like large expanses of things. I like the idea of an arena as a small area, perhaps, in an already established continent and area.
Like like a large arena which takes up an entire continent?
No. I'm saying I don't want that. I'm saying I'm thinking of the arena as something smaller on a continent already.
Oh, right, like in a city or something, or near a city.
Have you been reading the chat? Because I'm currently following
really.
Orphan Chocolate's idea. It is a very interesting idea, and I sort of like that. Oh, I didn't say the god of combat would corrupt an area. Not all of the gods are malevolent.
It'd be good if they were, though. That'd be cool.
I'd say maybe 30 to 40% of the gods are malevolent. Because there needs to be gods that people can worship that are good.
People can still worship malevolent gods.
Yes, I know.
I mean...
I'm saying, I'm not... I don't think I'm gonna be making all of the gods petty, because some of them are supposed to be good, like the god of prosperity.
Yeah, a lot of the Greek gods were just general assholes. Like they just like
Yeah.
if you've read any Greek mythology, like they were mostly just caught up in their own affairs, and they were really selfish, and they were all like they didn't care about people very much. And
I'm
like
thinking...
Zeus, for one, he turned himself into like a bull and went down to Earth just to have sex with some woman.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean, Orphan Chocolate, and I see what you mean, Toast. I'm thinking actually of renaming the god of combat to the god of war, perhaps?
Yeah, but that's been done.
Yeah,
It's
but...
also a very popular video game series.
Fuck you. Shut up. Only reason why
Sorry,
is
I'm just
because...
here to point out copyright.
I don't care. They're gonna be called different things anyway. I have nicknames for them. I'm just saying, like, the god of war. The only reason why is because I already have the god of strength. God of strength and god of combat are very similar in sort of concept, I guess. While I can imagine a god of war and a god of death working together to create an arena, that would be interesting.
Do the gods have physical forms? Can they appear to man?
Yes, but no.
Okay.
So one of the things about D&D is that gods have their own domains, which is essentially a plane of existence in which they are what do you call it? Yeah, I lost my train of thought. They're on a separate plane of existence, which is their domain, in which they live and can influence bits of the material plane, which is what essentially the world that everyone lives in is called in D&D. The concept is there is a thing called the Divine Gate, which you have to travel through to reach these separate planes of existence. So that would be that's sort of what I mean by they do exist as physical things, but also not, because they're not actually on the plane of existence that everyone is on. So
it's a bit like Oblivion gates.
Yeah,
such.
Similar.
Like the planes of Oblivion, and each Daedric lord is assigned to his own plane of Oblivion, which reflects them.
There you go. That's pretty much the same. Some gods share domains as well, so they'll have the same plane of existence that they live on.
That's cool.
Another thing.
Did some of them just like not have as much money, and so they have to share accommodation? Sorry, that was a silly joke. Carry on.
Hi, Cameron! I can fucking tell what your name is.
Oh god, we've got someone who's into dabbing.
Oh, don't worry. I have enough of it at
no.
I have enough of it at D&D. Sure. Dabbing goose. Sure. Anyway, point being, hilariousness. Let's move on just a little bit. Molten area. God of Culture would be interesting.
Yeah, I think the God of Culture would be the one to establish the temples and the things.
Perhaps just a god of civilization? Maybe? That's sort of a god that's based around...
What is the definition of culture itself? Like...
Are we getting philosophical here?
No, I'm just thinking, like, if they're going to have a god of culture, like, what is the actual definition of culture? How do we establish a god of culture?
That's why I was sort of going with a god of civilization, because it's much easier to put a pin on it. That's true. It does depend on the culture.
Like, if it's a culture... I don't think there should be a god of culture, because I think, like, every god sort of creates a culture of their own. Because if you worship the god of, I don't know, tides, then your culture is going to be based around the sea.
True.
And that sort of thing.
That's why I like the idea of a god of civilization, because civilization is a concept that you can have a god for. It's the idea of providing infrastructure, providing... A god of arts would be sort of cool. I might... Again, the list of gods that I have is currently not complete. It's just a bunch of things that I threw together that I sort of felt like would be cool for gods. I definitely want to change some of them, because there's issues with it. An idea that I just... I was gonna say an idea that I just had, and then I've lost the train of thought. This is fantastic. I like...
You keep losing your train of thought. It's really entertaining.
That's why I've got you here. This is how I world build. This is how I world build. I always do this. I start working on something, and I go, I had this really cool idea, but I've forgotten it.
Joys.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Molten area. Molten area would be cool.
Right. What about a snow area?
Ooh.
Snow is always fun.
Oh, snow. Because we have the hot and dry areas, and now we just need a cold area, because we also have a wet area. Yeah. No, snow sounds cool. Like an ice plane.
Literally.
Oh, God.
Because you said snow sounds cool, and
wow, okay. Fuck you.
Snow is... Shut up.
Fuck you.
Snowman creatures.
Snowman creatures sounds really cool, actually.
As Gurads, do you mean gods?
Yes, I'm fairly sure he means gods.
Or maybe they could be known as Gurads.
Gurads.
Like the creature could be called a Gurad.
Yeah.
But this is what I do when I come up with names for things. I just misspell it, and then I'm like, oh, that sounds cool.
So now we've got gods sort of we haven't changed any of them. We've just sort of left them as they are at the moment.
Yeah.
But the idea that I want to go through now is some of the concepts, as I sort of alluded to this before when I was talking about the malevolent gods and why they're malevolent in the first place.
Right.
The first sort of magic that existed in this world was divine magic, based on worship with these gods, obviously.
You just stole divine magic from my world.
I didn't, actually.
Carry on.
Second thing that comes from that is eventually the populace who sort of wanted to experiment, I guess, which is why I guess that's sort of where the whole tinkering, sort of steampunky stuff comes from. The idea of experimentation.
It's a bit like how Prometheus gave fire to people.
Well,
and then the gods were like, "What the fuck? No way."
Not really. I'm thinking more the idea that gods were the first thing that granted magic, and so that means there's lots of old priests and shit like that, old paladins, old. It's sort of the old magic. The new magic is when people created their own magic based off of divine magic. They essentially hodgepodged a bunch of shit together and created divine magic that requires no worship, which is now arcane magic. The idea behind that is that I wanted to make arcane be a man-made concept.
Right. Interesting. Carry on.
So that was my idea, only because I like the idea of arcane magic being better fused with inventions and machinery, perhaps, while divine magic is more suited for, well, magic, obviously. Not entirely sure.
So we've got all of these dangerous sort of biomes in
Yes.
the world. Is there anywhere which is not as dangerous? Like some grassy areas with some mountains, maybe?
I want to say
Or is it all
no, but
just-
I also want to say yes.
But even so, or maybe it used to be nice and grassy and nice and lovely and things, and then like
I
now it's
imagine
all-
the entire world was nice at one point. The rainforest was a nice place to be. The continent that used to be in the ocean that then got sunk was a nice place to be. The desert was actually a habitable place. And then shit happened and now it's not.
Yeah. And maybe like the grassy areas were like grassy and nice, and now they're all dead and everything's dead.
Well, I like the
big
idea
cracks
of
in
there
the ground.
being grassy areas, but I think I know how I want to do it. I think the idea is that because of the inhospitable habitat outside of cities, like the sandstorm area, the what I nickname is the Thunder Plains, the molten areas, that if you remember I'd mentioned about the sand area where they would have bubbles made out of magic that protect the inside city. Perhaps the internal cities can harbor life, because obviously they're being enriched by either divine magic or perhaps even arcane magic to allow for things like crops, grass, trees, and stuff to grow, even maybe allowing for oxygen based on, planting trees and having oxygen flow through the bubble.
Yes.
So, biodomes, essentially, is what I'm talking about.
That is a good concept.
It's like a mix of... I like to think it would be arcane, but also I like the idea that druids and shaman-like people would be sort of keeping the internal... I want to say the internal, like... what's the agriculture going? Because there aren't going to be many areas in the world where druids can sort of exist. Even in the outside, natural disastery areas, it's going to be hard for druids even to exist. So I like the
Can I
idea
just-
that they have sort of areas in civilization that they keep track of that's a naturey thing, like agriculture or bio plant life, etc.
I've just had a realization.
Yes.
We've basically just created like 6 of the Mario worlds.
Of course we have.
We've got grass, we've got desert, we've got
Oh, we don't have
underwater,
grass. We've got everything but grass. We have desert,
we don't
snow.
have clouds yet.
We've got desert, snow, underwater. The Thunder Plains technically has people living in the sky, so that's clouds. We have a rainforest, which hasn't been in a Mario game, I don't think. I don't know,
It was in New Super Mario Bros.
Yes! A giant castle with fire, and his name could be... Wowzer.
Wowza.
Wowzer. Waluigi. Okay. Let's move on here.
So we basically have just created 8 Mario worlds.
Yeah, we have, obviously.
All 8 of the Mario worlds. Great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh my god, I used to play New Super Mario Bros. On DS like all the time when I was younger.
I used to do ROM hacks for Super Mario World on the original SNES. I still have
Roger
videos of
roll.
that on YouTube. No, I didn't. Not on the actual physical SNES. I used to do it on emulators. Either way, point
Oh.
being, that was
Gosh, you're
that was
old.
fun. Yeah, 21, so old.
I mean, I've never laid hands on an SNES.
Neither have I.
Like, I've never experienced the power of an SNES.
I own a Nintendo 64. That's a fuck ton of fun. Point being, yeah, that was an idea. I had idea because the world is mildly magical that perhaps cities could be traveled to via teleportation circles, which is a thing in D&D.
Oh yeah.
Perhaps because there's a slight tinkering nature to everything, there could even be vehicles that people could have built that could travel through things like the snow or the desert.
Yes, absolutely.
Also wanted a subset of things, which is why there's a homebrew class that I really like, which is the shaman. That I want to drag into this world, and they speak with like spirits of the actual elements that are physical in the world. And I like the idea of archetypes and such things that exist for D&D classes and races that focus on controlling the dangers of the outside world. So people that have, instead of fearing the sands of the desert, have instead learnt to control it. Or people that instead of being, afraid of the tides and not sailing boats through anything, have instead decided to control the water itself and use it as a tool to help progress. So that's where
I can imagine the gods wouldn't be very happy with people fiddling around with their.
Well, I feel like part of that would actually be, first of all, there are 3 types of magic that exist in this world.
Yes.
It's based on D&D. There's divine magic, which is like magic that requires worship. So that's things like paladins and clerics. Then you have arcane magic, which is magic that does not require worship, which is things like wizards, sorcerers, and other such things. And then there's natural magic, which comes from things like druids, which is essentially magic that comes from the physical elements of the world. Sort of the lifeblood of creation.
Intriguing.
So I feel like the gods wouldn't care very much about natural magic, because that would be I feel like that's one of the more, I guess, closest things to divine magic. That's not, because you're technically not perverting the use of divine magic by using natural magic. if that makes sense.
It does, yes.
So, have you got any ideas? Has anyone else got any ideas? Because I've sort of been ranting and throwing ideas out of my head at about 100 miles an hour, so I sort of need someone else to
So what have we covered?
throw some ideas.
We've covered the parts of the world.
Yep.
We've covered gods.
Yep.
We've covered magic.
Yep. We've covered basic society. Actually, no, we
Yeah,
haven't. We haven't covered
haven't.
basic society.
No. I'm also thinking, are there any alternate minerals?
I feel like the idea of alternate minerals should come later, when we've actually fleshed out bits of the world. Like, properly fleshed things out.
So.
Right now, we're going with very, very vague ideas of what we want to do. This is the sort of episode where a lot of ideas get thrown out very quickly. We don't really delve too deeply into stuff. And when we start designing things later, we go, and how does that wrap back to what we said in the first episode? How does this idea contribute to making the world into a world that exists in D&D? How does that contribute to the idea of gods? How does that contribute to this? How does that contribute to this rainforest, etc.?
How does everything link together? Blah, blah, blah.
Yes. So, the idea, I guess what do we want to do for the civilizations that live here? Because there's obviously a bunch of different civilizations. There's the...
And they could all have their sort of cities adapted to the environment in 11.
Yeah. So there's like the,
obviously...
There's the rainforest people that live in trees. Like, the people that live in the rainforest mostly live in trees because they have to. The Thunder Plain sort of area, they live in, I was thinking, like, floating cities. Cities being held up by some sort of magical energy that perhaps, I'm thinking perhaps has some sort of, electrical discharge property to it, so that if it gets hit by any sort of electrical discharge, because there's lots of lightning storms going on, that perhaps it would diffuse it? Again, that's something I would be able to flesh out later, when we actually design that area. Deserts have the idea of biodome bubbles to protect from the outside sandstorms. Aquadomes for the water section, but we don't have anything for the mountain section yet.
Did you just say aquadomes with a soft A? Aquadomes.
Fuck you. It's aquadomes, you bitch.
Yes.
Also, don't take any of my insults personally. I really don't mean any of them.
Obviously.
I actually like the idea that perhaps the cities that are in the Thunder Plain, just an idea that I got from Trollian in the chat, perhaps they harness actual power from the lightning and thunder that exists in the area. Thunder is... I know that thunder is the sound. Shut up. I'm just saying, like, the lightning in the area, the actual electricity.
Yeah.
The snow
Thunder
area...
goes boom, and lightning goes...
Yeah. The snow area, I was thinking, like, some sort of, maybe, like, igloos / ice creations that protect things.
Half ice, half stone.
Half ice, half stone. Half
like
ice, half
Skyrim.
stone. Yeah, I'm good at this speaking thing. Half ice,
Like
half stone.
Stalrim in Skyrim.
Yeah.
Like a really dense ice material.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm not sure what I want to do for the volcano-y magma section, though. That's the one thing I'm sort of stumped on.
Solid magma.
Solid magma is stone. Or obsidian. Obsidian is glass, actually. Well, obsidian is...
Glass.
Glass.
How tough is obsidian, actually?
Very.
Like...
Well, it's brittle. It's tough, but it's brittle, I think is what I've heard.
Tough but brittle is the most oxymoronical thing I've ever heard.
I don't know. I haven't done much research.
Great.
I'm not that good
I'll
at
look
this.
it up.
I don't go out going, what is obsidian? How can I use it for my world? Let's because this is live, as you can all tell by the fact that I'm talking to chat. Unless I'm just like a god that can remember exactly what people say.
Interesting. Obsidian is actually a it's said to have healing properties.
Yeah, no. Okay. But shut up.
Just thinking.
It's hard. Wow! Holy shit! I was right. It says on Wikipedia, obsidian is hard and brittle. That's its exact words. It therefore fractures with very sharp edges. So obsidian is essentially.
If you hit it with something like a big hammer, it would be fine. But if you hit it with like a chisel,
it would fracture. Yeah. It's naturally occurring volcanic glass formed as an extrusive igneous rock. Obsidian is very pretty, by the way.
It is.
And obsidian is also really useful because it shatters, it fractures on sharp edges. You can make it into tools and such. Which is something that Minecraft never fucking did.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking in your volcanic area, the people living there could use obsidian quite frequently.
Yeah, that is possible.
A thing that they do.
I actually sort of like that idea.
Yeah.
Perhaps different types of stones and minerals and obsidian could be the design. And perhaps their city is fueled by magma or lava.
Yeah, they could have like some sort of geothermal.
Yeah.
Energy.
Which is theoretically okay for the world I'm thinking about. It's not too technical, and they're only using it to power things like you know, basic machines and shit.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, so that's that. What else? What haven't we done yet? What haven't we established? Or at least made the groundworks for?
It's hard to say.
Interesting.
Believe it or not, we have been doing this for exactly an hour.
Yeah.
And exactly an hour, we've run out of things to say. So
yeah, I think we've sort of established enough of the first, like enough for the first episode.
I'd say so.
I think
I'll have some stuff drawn for the next episode.
Yeah, I want to get some stuff prepared for the next one. I'm thinking of ways that I want to sort of have people consume this content, because right now it's just Raven's grand world building podcast on a blank screen. Not a blank screen. There's a big desert on it, but I'm not sure I want to keep it that way.
No, I'm gonna draw us a new background.
Sure. I was thinking of something along the idea of Notepad, and maybe we write down notes, but I'm also terrible at writing notes.
As am I.
Yes. See, my idea, the problem with writing notes is that we've done this entire session, right, of an hour long, and I haven't written a single note.
You're a silly sausage.
But I remember pretty much everything that we've said. And if not, I have this recording to go back on.
Hooray.
I will be, once we've got some groundwork done, I'll be designing everything in a program, which I might actually bring up on the screen. Just to show people what I'll eventually be doing. Because I have, there's a program called RealmWorks, which, again, I'll show it on screen. and Realmworks is a fantastic program for building campaigns. It does have a cost involved to be able to use it to begin with, but holy shit, it's amazing for building worlds for D&D.
What does it do?
I will bring it up on the stream, and you can have a look. I'm just currently getting it loaded up.
3 times now.
I'm getting it loaded up. It takes a while, okay? Fuck, did I just close it? I did.
Good job, well done.
Shut the fuck up. Okay, I'm going to, I'm gonna bring up my, display now. So we're gonna get rid of the image and we're gonna bring up my display. Hello, everyone. I'm going to very quickly hide the big thing here. So what we'll do is I'll show you very quickly what my world at the moment currently looks like that I tried to design in this program. I didn't finish it because I ended up writing this in physical notes, but this is Realmworks. So Realmworks is a area where you can physically track out every single bit of places, things, groups, people, events, other things. You can also fill out the story in an entire section. You've got mechanics and stuff. You've got a physical storyboard. You've got user notes. You've got
only for D&D?
No, you don't have to have any mechanics in it at all. It's a fantastic program for building a world in general. Because I'll show.
That's cool.
I'll show you.
I'm gonna get it.
You can bring up a place list which has different areas, you know, like adventure areas. You can put maps in. You can do like this is. So this here, if I bring it up, this is the current. I can't show it to you physically because I don't have anything here. Because again, I stopped doing a lot of my work in Realmworks for this specific world that I'm talking about now. When I wanted to go physically to like physical books. But I've got an entire continent listed out here with all of the different places. And then I've got groups up here that all have different things about them. You know, so we have, like, example being a religious group that's the Shamans of the Salt Marsh. We have a sort of money-making group, which is, well, a commerce-based group, which is the Tourmaline Trinity, which is like a gem guild in this world. So eventually I will be doing this entire project on here.
So it works a bit like a personal wiki.
Sort of, yeah. There are other websites that we can do. So as you can see, like if I make a world here, you can theoretically make a system neutral world, which means you're not even using a game system. But like I would do like, I'm just gonna call this like Stream World. And I'm going to choose Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and create the realm. And now I have an entire realm in Realmworks that I can flesh out. My favorite bit about Realmworks is that if you have a bunch of friends that you want to play Dungeons & Dragons with and perhaps you play online, Realmworks has a built-in player view as well. I don't know whether... I think you might be able to do... you might be able to do some... There might be a free version of the player version as well. But what you could do is you can have, like, bits that you have built in the almanac section, this section here. Like, if you've built a place. You can then show off certain details with these buttons here to your players. And so they can just read it straight off of the screen.
Intriguing.
It's fan-fucking-tastic. And I think that's honestly about it for this episode. What do you think? How do you think we went? So eventually I'll be designing everything in here, which is probably what I'll have up on the screen.
Then it does defeat the point of it being a podcast.
What do you mean?
Because a podcast is the sort of thing you just listen to.
Well, you can still listen to it. I'm just going to be giving... The entire podcast will be streamed. So I want people that are watching on stream to not be bored.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But there will be, obviously, other stuff. And you can still... You should still be able to listen to this entire thing and have an understanding of what we're doing. But as you said, we might have some drawings, we might have some stuff up on screen. Alright, well, thank you very much for anyone that tuned in.
That's it.
Hopefully, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. Hopefully this is all fine. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to restart the stream. I'm going to stop the stream and start it again, because I'm still going to be streaming for another maybe 1 or 2 hours. Not sure what game I'm going to play. I was thinking maybe PUBG, but I might play some more Darkest Dungeon instead. I don't know yet. I was thinking today. That was the answer, Trellian. So I was thinking of moving straight into Darkest Dungeon and playing some more of that, perhaps. But thank you all for watching. Don't be bothered by the fact the stream is about to go down. It's going to go down for probably about 10 seconds, and then it will come straight back up again. See you in a bit.